I have some questions to make. What is Arceus? What role does it take in the Pokémon world? What do the Lake Guardians represent, and what was Cyrus trying to do with them? This video is dedicated to theorize about the theology of the Pokémon world, to find an explanation for the origin myths told in the games. So, theology. There are two characters in the Pokémon games who are the closest we've seen to a theologian. One is Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh region. The other, a nameless character who explains everything about the subject we discussed today. But who is this person? In the Gen 4 games, there is a NPC who appears in all the games from that generation. A hiker who can be seen in the Oreburgh Mine and Canalave City's library from the Sinnoh region, the Sinnoh ruins located between Sinnoh and Johto, and finally in the Embedded Tower from Johto. And what is he doing in the games? He is trying to understand the lore of the Pokémon world, as we do. Naturally, he is researching about Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, believed to be the creator of the world we explore in the games. So, what is Arceus? As explained in the books from Canalave City's library, Arceus was born from an egg which emerged from the primal chaos. After that, the original one created from itself Dialga, Palkia, and the Lake Guardians. Those were responsible for the creation of Matter and Spirit. This myth is similar to the creation story told in Shintoism, the main religion of Japan, especially when in Pokémon the creation is said to have started in the Spear Pillar, and in Shinto, Izanagi and Izanami created Japan after using a spear to stir the water of the sea. But this is not the only inspiration behind Arceus. Let's go back to our friend the hiker. Our first encounter with this character is in the Oreburgh Mine. If the player has an Arceus on his team, the hiker will tell us that he is actually a student of philosophy who came to the Sinnoh region to investigate the creation myths, as he is trying to find an answer to how humans came to be. The next time we see him is in Canalave City, where he explains that he visited the surroundings of Mount Coronet and was here to continue his research. He explains how he interprets the books from the library and some of the inscriptions you can read in the plates. The following three statements in particular are the most important. The way I see it, our world began when the spirit within people was born. When that spirit came to be, there followed awareness about the world. Within the newborn spirit, time and space were intertwined as one. People and Pokémon, too, were but the same presence. A Pokémon is said to have shaped this world. Could that Pokémon be the physical form of the original spirit? One plate reads, "Three beings were born to bind time and space." Those three beings I read to mean the three Pokémon of the lakes. It's about Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. The myth describes how they gave a spirit to the world, shaping it. These 3 points are really important to understand the origin myths of the Pokémon world. Here is where we start to notice the different inspirations behind Arceus. Many fans noticed that Pokémon uses concepts taken from alchemy. But there is more. Alchemy is just one of the different ideas part of the Western Esoteric tradition, a category in which many movements and doctrines fall in. But why do we need this to understand What is Arceus? Well, all of these doctrines show in their basis the influence of Neoplatonic philosophy, in particular the work of Greek philosopher Plotinus or Plotinus. He introduced the concept that all the living beings were part of the same entity. I'll try to explain this as simple as possible. In his metaphysic ideas, Plotinus explained the principle known as the One, the entity which existed prior to the creation of the universe. The One is beyond all the attributes of being and not being. It doesn't contain multiplicity nor division. It can't be described as it is beyond existence. It is not God, as God implies passing from a potential to creation. The One is a sheer potentiality, as it doesn't show self-awareness. The One in its solitude doesn't have any option but to think within itself. Here is when it starts emanating something which could be seen as creation force, but it was described by Plotinus as light. The emanations of the One are the divine mind, the self-aware impulse of creation, the anima mundi or world soul, divided in lower and upper aspects, and then the physical reality where multiplicity and matter exist, where the souls are separated from the anima mundi. So, the One is potentiality. Then comes the divine impulse of creation, which impulses the light of the One down the spheres. Ancient people believed the world was surrounded by crystalline spheres where the celestial bodies were located. Anima mundi is the shared soul from which all human souls are born. The anima mundi is reflected by the supralunary sphere, as the moon does with the sunlight over the physical world, where the souls are trapped in bodies. This is what the hiker says in his first statement about the Sinnoh myths. The original spirit is the One, the awareness that follows is the divine mind, and the anima mundi appears as the intertwined existence of people, Pokémon, time and space. These ideas will be really important for Christian theology, but alchemy and the esoteric Jewish Kabbalah will be influenced by them, translating these ideas to the Tree of Life, which depicts the process the light or mind of God goes through during creation. The tree is upside down. The roots are in the top and the fruit is in the lower part of the tree. In the roots we find Ein Sof, God prior to self-manifestation, the One who after a dialogue within itself emanates the infinite light, or Ein Sof. And the light goes down the spheres or Sephiroth into Malkuth, the realm of Mother, Earth. Paracelsus, medieval alchemist, used the word Arceus to describe the most dense and lower aspect of the astral plane, and also to refer to the anima mundi, the connection between all beings. In the Tree of Life, it is located right above Malkuth, where physical existence begins, and this poses a problem. If Arceus is the god Pokémon, why is Arceus near the bottom of the tree and not in the top where the divine mind is located? Well, this is what the hiker said in his second statement. Arceus is the physical form of the original spirit from which existence started. Why does it take that physical form? The Arceus is where the higher worlds start to blend with the highest vibrations of our physical world. This happens because the light travels through the 22 connecting paths, each one identified with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and Those paths are used to ultimately condense the light in the last Sephiroth. In Pokémon, Unown represents the letters of the alphabet, and they seem to be used in a similar way. They seem to help Arceus to create, and they are shown during the Dark Gray movie being affected by the clash of time and space, suggesting that they are the fabric of reality. Now, Arceus has a belt with a very peculiar shape. This symbol also appears in Type Null, used to restrict Silvali's power, and it is also used by Cyrus to control Dialga and Palkia. This symbol is similar to the amulets some practitioners of the Kabbalah used, and they represent Cassiel, the angel of Saturn. The Arceus was sometimes called the Path of Saturn. The belt is what allows Arceus to exist in the Pokémon world, restricting it to this physical form. Following the inspirations behind it, if you remove the belt, Arceus should lose its physical form. But of course, if Game Freak decided to take the belt off, they will give it a new form, probably something like Ultra Necrozma. So, what is closer to Ein Sof in Pokémon? Well, the same as in alchemy, where that concept is usually mentioned as Azot or Shamayim, the Hebrew word for heaven, the highest celestial sphere, the measureless spirit of life from which the four elements are born. Concept depicted in the Azot of the Philosophers, the inspiration for the Gen 7 legendary trio. And what is Azot in Pokémon? There are two things: the ancient kingdom where Magyarna was created by an alchemist, and the project initiated by teams Magma and Aqua. This plan involved using the energy of primal reversion, which is infinity energy, the life force of living creatures in this world. That is what Ein Sof is in Pokémon, infinity energy. Now the final statement made by the hiker. One plate reads, "Three beings were born to bind time and space." Those three beings I read to mean the three Pokémon of the lakes. It's about Uxie, Mesprit, and Eself. The myth describes how they gave spirit to the world, shaping it. To fully understand this, we need the help of that who was, as the hiker, researching the Sinnoh ruins. Cynthia, a combination of what she said in both the Sinnoh ruins and Celestic Town, explains the real meaning behind what our friend the philosopher said. Cynthia describes the paintings from the Celestic ruins as follows. The light in the center represents either Dialga or Palkia appearing at the spear pillar. The three lights around it were thought to be Uxie, Mesprit, and Eself, but then I realized that there may be another way of interpreting this. Could this triangle of lights actually represent a different trio? Could they be Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina instead? And the large light in their center, does it represent something else? Could it be what created this world of ours? Well, let me tell you that both interpretations are correct. Cynthia's view of the paintings is what we see in the Sinnoh ruins, a triangle with a large light in the center representing Arceus, the creator, with the three other symbols being the creation trio. This triangle is based on the shield of the Trinity, a Christian diagram used to explain the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and how they are separate entities while all being different aspects of God, located in the center of the triangle. Some theologians explain the Trinity comparing it to the human mind, the thoughts coming from it and the love that unifies those aspects, the thinking ability. Father is the impulse of creation. Giratina is antimatter, the consequence of physical creation. The Son is eternally spawned, created by the Father. The Alga is the Pokémon of time, which flows eternally, as the Celestic ruins explain. The Spirit takes the place of Palkia, master of space. And what is space in Pokémon? Space is ever-expanding dimensions. Our spirits, too, are as space. What about the Lake Guardians? The Shield of Trinity shares many characteristics with the squared circle used in alchemy as a symbol for the magnum opus, the process of creating the Philosopher's Stone. The inner circle is man and woman, the physical manifestation of the spirit, or self. The square is the four elements, the physical world, and the outer circle is the one, the higher spirit. The triangle is known as the Trinity of consciousness that allows the self to develop. The triangle is mind, body, and spirit, the three basic elements from alchemy. But it is also thought, emotion, and action. Those places are taken by Yuxi, Mesprit, and Azelf, the Pokémon of knowledge, emotion, and willpower. They are what gives a spirit to the world, what allows the existence of different creatures as individual sentient entities, and the place each guardian takes in the Trinity of Consciousness is mentioned in the myths of the Sinnoh region. A horrific myth explains that if you look into Yuxi's eyes, you will lose knowledge of who you are. You'll lose your ability to think. If you touch the body of Mesprit, the Pokémon located in the same place as body, you will lose your emotions. And if you harm Azelf, you will grow immobile in entirety. You will lose your willpower and will not be able to take any action. If you were to lose all three, you will lose what makes you an individual. You will cease to exist as a self. This is what Cyrus was trying to achieve. Eliminate multiplicity, avoiding conflict and pain. A world where only time flowed and space expanded. Basically the plot of the end of Evangelion. Arceus condenses the light of creation through Unown. The Alga and Palkia represent the different aspects of that light, and the Lake Guardians make it able for multiplicity to exist in the realm of matter. Or maybe I'm just overthinking everything and Pokemon is for kids.